Well, Walter has agreed, Walter has agreed to,
Facilities, this is 5 o'clock, we'll be going. Approve the minutes of June 18th. Any questions or any corrections? Oh, okay. The only on the agenda, we got some facility updates.
Yes, we are probably 95% finished with everything that we're doing. Outside is done, and the majority of the work left to do is in the library, or the Learning Commons, as we now call it. And after all of these meetings tonight, Bruce and I will take you down the hall and take a good look. I think the last time you saw it was vacant, sort of a vacant space, and I think you'd be very pleased with how it turned out. And I just want to compliment John Francis and Amy Ulrichsen and all of the staff that worked so hard to get it ready. And CCI, I mean, we got all this accomplished in about 5 weeks, so it's amazing. I think you'll really be very, very pleased with it. We are. Bruce, you want to talk about the space a little?
No, when I take them on the tour, I'll be, expand on that.
And the building is ready. All the paving has been done. The landscaping's done. So we'd be happy to take you around any of it, but we're very pleased. And then we will have our 2 functions in the fall, the open house, I think on the 6th.
Yes, October 6th.
October 6th and 4. And the areas that will be open, the entire building will be open, but the areas that I think people want to see is the CTE Center, also the Learning Commons, and downstairs. All the renovations are made downstairs, as well as seeing the front entryway and the safety standards that we put in. So again, we're very pleased, and the building will be ready to go for Monday when students come back in for it.
it looks really nice, just walking in. Very impressive.
Yeah, I walked around, it looked really nice outside. Is there any other business? Our next meeting will be
September 17th.
September 17th. Same time, same place.
5:05 for the Policy and Budget Committee. The members that are here are myself, Phil, Maureen. Approval of the minutes of June 19th, which are on the back of the agenda page. Were there any changes or corrections? Hearing none, they are approved by general consent. Next on the list is the bullying policy and suicide prevention resource.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as you know, the legislature recently passed provisions that there had to be staff training and materials available for staff members and students with regard to bullying, cyberbullying, and also suicide prevention. And this is a list that we've put together for staff, which says that we in fact have reviewed the bullying and cyberbullying policy in the handbook. So as you see, section 2, they have reviewed the Suicide Prevention Resource Center and all of those resources that are available. And then by signing below, I verify that I've reviewed the bullying policy and visited the suicide prevention online resource pages. This goes along also with suicide prevention classwork that Torino has put together for all of our staff. So we've historically always had suicide prevention materials available and training, but this is to sort of codify it to juxtapose to the state statute. So this is merely a sign-off sheet that I wanted you to see that the employees will be signing off.
Okay. Do you need action on this from the full board?
No, this was an informational. I just wanted you to know the sheet is out there, and for you to know also that we're complying with the state statute with regard to suicide prevention and suicide prevention education.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the memorandum of understanding with ADAPT.
Yes, there are two memos here because there are two specific programs, and Mr. Parsons might be able to speak to both programs better than I. But they are with ADAPT, which is Sean O'Brien's program. So when program is staff, you need a Sean O'Brien's program. And, well, it's under ADAPT that we have had a terrific relationship with in the Thornton School District. And now we're doing a lot of that leadership training and alternative education training for students that the building administration feels would be appropriate for those students. So this is a memo of understanding for the two different areas, and this is for your review and conversation tonight, and then we'll revisit it at your next committee meeting to sign off. But it gives you an opportunity to look purpose and scope of the program. It's really a definition of what we're trying to accomplish, and then the responsibilities of the two parties are outlined. So. I don't know, Bruce, if you want to...
Yeah, it's been extremely successful because it's a personalization program for students who are at risk or have trouble in learning within the classroom. It's also been an alternative to suspension too that we've been able to use. So it's again an unbelievable tool to have at our disposal to help kids along to what we're doing now. We're putting together different pieces that they can sort of like get credit to from individual classes when we're taking them out of the program. But it's been very, very successful. Kudos to Sean O'Brien and the staff too on, he works extremely well with Todd, Randy, Guidance, and Tennille and Michael on the program.
And both programs are funded by the ADAPT program.
Correct.
And their funds come from an awful lot of federal and state grants.
What grades is it open to?
It's freshmen to seniors,
All of them.
depending on the individual needs of the students. As we, you know.
And the students are identified by that group that you just
Yeah,
mentioned?
and they have to volunteer, you know, we can't make them obviously either,
Yeah.
but you know, it is a great alternative to a suspension or a Friday night or, you know. Kids working together out in the wilderness and that type of atmosphere. We usually go out on Wednesdays or Fridays.
So,
A lot of hands-on.
A lot of hands-on, yeah, and
Put together.
building team relationships and healthy relationships and working in a group, absolutely.
any other questions for principal or the superintendent? So this is on, just for the first look tonight.
Yes.
We will then address it at September 17th, and presumably the whole board will vote on it then.
Like to.
Okay. Is everyone okay with that plan? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the fiscal year 19 financial update.
Yes. We have just closed the books on the year, and I would like to, first of all, give kudos to Jen Sanborn, who is your bookkeeper. This was no easy task, keeping up with Bruce Parsons, Mark Haller, and John Francis, and others, as we worked with YouTube, state, federal, local, and other money. So this is you have the MS-25 and the DOE-25 for you to sign, but this is the sheet that we have historically gone over rather than bore you with pages and pages of minuscule detail. So let me start you at the bottom, the big picture. If you went to FY19 fund equity, do you see that? $966,749. It's sort of the last box down there, all the way, first page. Everyone see that? Fund equity is what we finish the year with when you take revenues and appropriations, match them against the budget, So that was what was left. Reserve for encumbrances was $453,947. Those are the day-to-day expenses that were for the month of, for the whole fiscal year. And then also those were the encumbrances for all the construction that went on this summer. So those are all those POs so that was about 47% of the fund equity. So, as you remember, we have a retained fund balance. The school district has given us authority to retain a certain percentage. So, that retained fund balance will be $264,000. That means that's $264,000 in cash that from the previous year, FY19, it's being retained. And that money will either be returned to the district as unreserved fund balance in FY21, or at the close of FY20, or after a public hearing, you can use that money to come up. So if we have an issue, particularly with special education, what we would do then is say, we would hold a public, I would request that you hold a public hearing and then authorize us to take some of that money toward special education, only if we need it. We had $100,000, I think, this year in reserve. We didn't need any of it, and that's part of your unreserved fund balance that's going back. So 27.3% of the fund equity is retained fund balance, and the other 26% basically is unreserved fund balance of $248,802. That'll be going back to reduce taxes. And we had used the figure of $100,000, I believe, when we did budgeting, because that was what was in the retained fund balance. So we got everything done that we wanted to get done, and we still have a little cushion for special education, and we're giving back $248,000. So it's a pretty successful financial year for us. And, I'm just pleased that we were able to get these one-time things done, these capital expenditures done. So they're taken care of now for the next generation of this facility. The other pages were, the second page is matching up the revenues with what we thought we were going to get. So if you see the revenues, it's budget. Catastrophic aid, $300,000 we thought we were going to get. We got $118,943. One of the issues was we didn't get the catastrophic aid because we didn't spend the money. The kids were kept in programs. So we didn't get catastrophic aid because we didn't spend money. We kept them in-house. So that's why that's so far off. Adequacy. An extra $35,000, voc ed an extra $17,000. The thermal recs that we sold, we thought we'd get about $25,000, we got $19,000. Medicaid reimbursement, $50,000 better than we expected. And then you don't need me to read this. You go down through that, and so we ended up in pretty good shape on the revenue side.
Excuse me, Mark.
Yeah.
What did the state in catastrophic aid, what did they? Percentage did they pay?
Well, they're funding about 61%.
Is it still?
Yeah.
Is that ever going to get better?
Huh?
Is that ever going to get any better?
No.
They not even talking about it?
No. Gone forever. And then the next page is your food service account. We had total revenues of $254,000, the total expenses of $264,000. So revenue less expense is $9,800. We had a fund balance from 18 of $22,000. The fund balance now is $12,355. Like other districts, we are running with some student accounts that are in the red. As those, we've written off those accounts, and as money continues to come in, that'll be credited to the food service program. And that's an issue, quite frankly, all over the state, perhaps the country. Remember what the rule now, statute calls for us to provide a meal no matter what, whether the child pays or doesn't pay. We encourage people, please, fill out the free and reduced forms. It helps us, not only helps us feed kids, but also helps us in all our grants and anything else that comes from federal or state government. So, and then the last page is the capital reserve funds that are pretty depleted. In the future, you may have conversations about capital reserve funds, but sort of taking all the money out of those things to do the sort of things we needed to do over the last few years. So, Madam Chair, these two forms, one is for municipal services for the Department of Revenue Administration, and the other is for the DOE, and that's for the Department of Education. So there's a slot for the chair to sign, and then we need their lines for all the board members.
Do we need to vote on these?
Yes, you need to recommend to the full board that they approve the DOE 25 and the MS 25.
Okay, so this is before the committee now, so do I have a
Move that.
move?
Yeah.
Second, so it will be up to the full board for consideration later this evening. Any other questions about that to the superintendent? All right. Any other business? Doesn't look so. Therefore, our future meeting is on September 17th. And that ends the committee meeting for the Policy and Budget Committee.
And we have Maureen on,
All right,
for program and staffing.
so we will open program and staffing, it's 5:20 right now. Agenda review and discussion.
All set.
The minutes from June 18th, are there any changes or questions about them? If not, they'll be approved as written. Athletic co-curricular nominations.
Yes, after non-public session, we will be nominating fall coaches and assistant coaches, and also organization advisors.
Staff nominations.
Yes, we have support staff nominations for you after non-public.
Flexible scheduling discussions.
As you remember at your retreat, we had a conversation about the report with regard to starting school at different times. And we want to then, with the information contained in that report, have conversations with regard to flexible start of school, flexible schedules for kids. So kids that traditionally thrive under the current way of coming to school, 7:30 to 2:30, 2:20, whatever time it is. Continue to do that, and then you see if we had the flexibility on our end to have flex schedules for those students who would rather come a little later in the morning or go to school later in the afternoon. And so this program and staffing committee was charged with holding discussions with community members, students, faculty, and folks that are interested but to hold those discussions here in this committee. So I put it on the agenda just to remind you that that whole issue is under the umbrella of the program and staff.
Any questions for Mark about that?
I missed the summer retreat, so I didn't hear all of this information. How is that connected to, if any at all, to the SCC?
It is the SCC's report that solicited a long discussion at the retreat about the ability to really change schedules and change routines and families. And I think at the full board meeting, any board members can correct me if I misspeak, but I think that people felt like perhaps if we approach the subject from individual and personalized education rather than an entire systematic change for folks who don't want to change, that maybe we would get further on down the road if we work with people that were willing to change and people that weren't willing to change, their lives weren't going to change at all. So we could have a cohort of students, Barbara, who would come to school at 10 o'clock in the morning and go to school until perhaps 5 o'clock at night. And they would make individual choices, whether they wanted to participate in co-curricular activities or not, that were taking place at the regular time. And these kids would say, you know, I'd rather go to school from 10 to 5. I don't play a sport in the fall, or I don't do this. So that fits my life pretty well. Because at the retreat, the full board had a real conversation about, well, the majority of the faculty doesn't want to change, and the majority of students and families don't want to change. We're going to be running into a brick wall here. So perhaps it's easier to deal with the small amount of people that are looking for some change and see if we can put together a program that allows for that to happen for those folks, and then all these other folks are happily going about their business as they always have. Is that fair, Madam Chair? Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it
So
is.
this is all in the beginning stages for program and staff.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the report, basically the concept got sent to program and staff. There was a feeling that it was too intricate to have the entire board talking about at once. It would just, so we sent it off to the committee, and perhaps the committee had committee meetings by itself on a Wednesday, or to take input from folks, that all the board members wouldn't have to be appearing, that the committee would be here, or just a majority of them. Mr. Parsons, you want to add?
No, I think you're fine, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? So we'll begin that at the 17th, the September 17th meeting. How would you like to proceed with that at the September 17th? Just a beginning of the conversation, or will you?
I think maybe perhaps inviting Patricia Rella, who from the SCC, who was one of the leaders, and have a conversation with her about perhaps what the board talked about at the retreat, and that now it's under the umbrella of that, and the reasons for the board's thinking.
Sounds good. All right.
And we'll get not only Patricia, but I'll talk with Mr. Parsons and see who are the folks who should be. Her name comes right to mind because she made the presentation.
Okay. Thank you. Any ASC?
Yes, we had the good fortune of attending a workshop of teacher leaders. It all came under the auspice of a grant that Ethel had done before she had left. We hired a facilitator that came in for 3 days and worked with 10 teachers and the full administrators right here in this room from 8 to 3:30 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Kudos to Tanya, Orlando, and Bob Price. Basically, being trained into facilitating professional learning communities within the school. This is what's going to come on. This is what came out of our growth plan. So we're in the early stages of developing in that. I would like to send you, and I will. I'll have if Janice will remember this tomorrow. The reflections that the group sent the facilitator, who developed professional. He was the author who developed the professional learning communities throughout the country. I think he came in from South Carolina, but it was amazing to watch these 15 to 18 people work those 3 days. It's a workshop on how to facilitate a group of teachers and working together, sharing lesson plans, receiving feedback on a lesson or a unit, which is totally new territory for us. But I will have Janice send those out to you in your email. And some of the teachers that have been working 20, 25 years, and their comments was it was the best workshop that they had done in all the years. And we did it here. We didn't have to go out and send it to Boston or somewhere else. We brought the facilitator here. So we are going to, again, he really recommended baby steps to take forth as we roll out the entire program to the full staff. We have our teacher leaders in place this year, and they will work What their duty is to work, one of their duties that they will be working on is they'll be working as a group. They'll be planning the faculty meetings as we go all throughout the rest of this year. Because keep in mind, we got to put that growth plan into action. So when this group comes together next year in October, when the NEAC comes, that's what they will be evaluating, the work that we put forward. Again, the growth plan was to develop professional learning communities within Plymouth Regional High School to open that door, and this process started. And again, I think you'll see a real clear message when you hear the teachers, the reflective responses that the teachers made. It was 3 days, and we had all our administrators in. The athletic director, Todd, Tennille, and we all took place. We were in different groups as we worked throughout the session for the 3 days. I will keep you informed as we go through. We're going to be working in PLCs tomorrow. We're going to break out some of the smaller groups tomorrow with the SAU coming in here tomorrow. But again, all the faculty meetings around the whole year will be centered around the professional learning communities. Any questions at all? And again, the grants paid for, I would have to say, 85%. I had to cover a couple of teachers that the grant didn't, that I needed at the table.
Thank you. Any other questions for Bruce? Okay, other business? And so now, non-public session, we need to go to first.
We'll probably do it after the full board meeting.
Oh,
That's a little bit easier.
okay. Sounds great.
Excellent.
Then, do I hear a motion to adjourn this? Okay.
So Penny Baker Regional School Board, agenda review and disposition.
I'm all set, Madam Chair.
All right, we have no public here, so unless there are any corrections or amendments to the two sets of minutes, June 18th and July 23rd, they stand approved as written. Mr. Halloran, do you?
Yes, I just would give you an updated report on the lack of a state budget. As you know, the governor has vetoed the budget that was passed by the legislature. Contained within that budget was significant aid to the cities and towns, not only for schools adequacy, but also to the towns for what was called the old revenue sharing. And so that was money for roads and things like that. So that, for a lot of reasons, the budget was vetoed, and now the governor's office and the legislative leaders are discussing getting a budget, compromising. And we're hopeful that no matter what comes out of the budget, that the 4% reduction to most of our communities in stabilization aid will be put back into levels, I think, from 2016. That will be a big help, particularly for our property poor communities. And then anything else above and beyond that would be certainly helpful for the communities. Also contained in that budget, as Maureen O'Hara and I were talking, was the funding for the renovation and expansion of the Russell Elementary School. And so with the veto of the budget, we're waiting. I understand there's no issue between the governor and the legislative leaders on the issue that should come out of the Russell program should come out of that. So that should be fine. It's just a matter of when we actually get a budget. So we'll keep you in tune. It's, the departments are operating on what's called a continuing resolution. So they get about a quarter of the money that they had the previous year. So the Department of Education is functioning, and the other departments are functioning under a continuing resolution. So, but the important factor for our towns is that the tax rates have to be set in the fall, and there's got to be a decision on what the educational aid is in order to set those tax rates. So I think that's the timetable that they're up against. My understanding is that folks discussing the budget are getting together at the end of August, but I believe most of the tax rate documents are expected at DRA by September 1st, so, and setting tax rates is important to selectmen in terms of having to borrow funds and getting cash flow back into the coffers. So it's right now it's okay, but the more we get into the year, it's important that we get a budget. So that's sort of the update, and we're dealing with some of the laws that were passed. You just saw the suicide prevention education material. So we're dealing with all the laws that are coming out of the last legislative session. That's it, Madam Chair.
I wish I could say thank you, but. Mr. Parsons?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I will take the board after through some of the renovations we do, but we need to give kudos to the man to my left here, obviously. And when he's on a plan, he's on a plan. With 5 weeks to do that learning common, he was focused in on that. And between John, Mark, and Amy, remarkable. I mean, we took it down to the bare floor. It is going to make it. I think you're going to be impressed. We have some furniture delivery that will be coming in probably the second week or third week of September. We've made a few changes in there. We moved the classroom that used to be in the back. We put that into what we call the old urn time behind the glass. Our kids will still be able to use that if a class isn't there. But basically the whole learning center itself is a big urn time lounge, as you'll see. Again, we moved the stacks, the shelving over to the left, which creates just a completely different environment within that structure. And you're going to be tickled pink when you really do see that. I have some hires for you tonight that Mark will present to you. We look like we're going to be staffed pretty well with that, so we weren't worried about, we're always getting quality people here, which is a nice thing. Today we entertained, the teachers were back for the first time today, and we entertained freshman orientation. I think I had close to 153 kids, only 7 kids did not make it if I went through the schedule. They had a wonderful presentation in the auditorium. We did a couple of skits on dress code, phone, electronics, all high school issues that these students are not really used to, but they were a fun group. And then they went through, they got their pictures done, they did a stopover through the common learning library piece that they're going to see. And then we had a wonderful barbecue, hamburgers and hot dogs. Mark came down and helped me out. Kudos to Cafe Services, and off they went, and they went through their schedule from 1 to 2:30. So it was a pretty good group. We are getting a lot of new students in the door. I will keep you updated. That's always a challenging fact to do the schedule or make some other arrangements that I'm able to make depending on the students and the needs that they're coming into. Tomorrow, Mark opens up with the SAU. They'll all be here first thing in the morning for breakfast, and then there's some workshops throughout the entire building. They'll be gone by 10:30. And we have our own workshops that will be taking place from then. They'll have another faculty lunch, and then they have a full meeting with me in the afternoon, which I'm sure they're excited about. Thursday, they're on their own. That's the day that we give them in the room. I've been through this building at least 17 times with John and Paul Pisano. All the rooms are fully staffed and equipped. We have enough seats. I always want to make sure that's, properly we're ready for that, and we're good. Again, we'll briefly take a look at the outside. As again, Mark made I made some major accommodations out there for the staff parking lot and out to the right here for the CTE accommodations. We also, I didn't throw that in your box, but we have an evaluation too from the CTC The Perkins, I mean, the rules and regs and those are pretty strict. So within the grants, Randy is provided for a consultant. So I've got to meet with Eric Feldberg tomorrow and Randy. There's a litany of things. So we have a special ed that's being pretty much audited this year. We're finishing the NEASC for next year, and we're doing an evaluation process on the CTC. So it's a full shot here for next year.
And let me add, we brought this on ourselves.
Good.
Both Parsons and I said, let's get this done while two of us are here, so that new folks aren't coming in and spending their first 2 years being asked questions, quite frankly, they don't know anything about, or weren't part of the decision-making process of how we got to where we got. So, it's our intent to leave the next generation with solid building, improved programs, and off they go for the next 10 years.
Staff is pretty excited, and we will roll out the computers. The computers are all included through Kylie Kopp, who came on board as our new technology director, and she is hitting the ground running fast. She's got all those computers ready to go. We will pass them out on Monday. The kids will get those in their freshman structured study hall in there. So I'll keep you appraised, and that will be a new adventure for us as we move forward with that. But any questions?
When do the kids come back?
The kids come back next Monday. Monday, yeah. So Monday, they come back, and it'll be a regular A day.
Yeah.
They'll come in and they'll get their schedules, and they'll go pick up their student handbooks. And then I do have to meet with every class to go over, because we made some major changes. The study halls will all take place now within the Learning Common. We're going to move all the groups into that area there. We want to make use of that piece. So there's just some new rules and regs I got to go over with all the classes too. So that'll be a brief meeting, and they'll start.
Was it a 4-day week?
It's a 4-day week, yes. We're off on that Friday, correct. And the teachers are off this Friday too, so they're all done on Thursday too. So we're back to our regular schedule, which I think they're going to be extremely happy, because it was a long June for them. It was a long haul, and they felt it.
Seems short to me.
You're still on vacation, aren't you, Mr. Rick?
I started meeting.
You start Monday.
Yeah, yes.
Any questions? I'd be happy to.
Alrighty, thank you. Now, if folks are okay, if we don't, because we're taping everything, unless we have votes coming from the various committees, I'm tempted just to, people have seen what went on with the committees. So I think,
We do have a vote for the
You have a
policy
vote?
budget. We have, item number 3 was the bullying policy and suicide prevention resource. The committee bumped it up to the full board for vote tonight. That's the RSA 193F statute that needs to go into, the checklist needs to go into the academic planner student handbook.
any questions? So all those in favor of that motion coming from committee?
Aye.
Looks like that's unanimous.
Abstain.
Oh, sorry, abstaining. Thank you.
And I believe that that was the only thing they needed a vote from the,
How about
oh, excuse me, the financial update
Yeah.
and the signatures on the state required documents.
the MS 25 and the DOE 25?
MS 25. So the 2 state forms coming from committee, is their approval? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining? One abstaining. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And there was nothing from any of the other committees. Discussion items? Any other business?
No.
Any board member concerns? Do I hear a motion to go into non-public session for personnel?
I'll make that motion.
Sam, seconded by Barbara. Yes.